Well, I'm with Andrew Newton, the leader of the IoM Green Party, down here at Corbridge, apparently one of the big offenders on the Isle of Man for air quality, but we don't really know. Now, you had a chance to look at what Mr. Boot said about his opinion of testing. What's your response?
Well, I mean, Mr. Boot recalled that there has been testing previously and harked back to 10 years of testing 10 years ago, but my understanding is that testing only took place over a short period of time. And if you actually go back through the Hansard, there was the Public Health Act came in 1990, which sets a statutory duty for the Department of the Environment to do regular testing, and come back and report back to Tynwald every 3 years. And that didn't happen until the late 2000s, 2008, 2007, 2008. And now it's stopped again. And now, for a positively statement, the politicians in the House all came out in favour of regular testing, and Mr. Boot was being challenged by that. And what was unfortunate, as the regulator, you want to see him strive for the highest standards of public health regulation, environmental regulation in the Isle of Man, but he wasn't willing to take leadership on the issue.
Well, he says you can smell it's clean. I'm not sure about that, yeah. But what do you think?
Well, I think that if you go on top of Snaefell, maybe, but if you're here where people are actually residing and living constantly in this environment, then we should, as a minimum, collecting the data to understand what are the implications. I think when I spoke to you previously, I identified the Nuffield report that came out last week that identified in the United Kingdom it's the highest levels of asthma conditions and deaths out of all Western countries measured, 17 countries, I believe.
Now, the cost issue was brought into it. Did you accept those sort of costings of £100,000 or whatever it was to install equipment?
Well, let's have transparency around it for a start. If he's alleging that it's disproportionate for the for the environmental health regulator to take steps to ensure our health is in the safest hands and claiming costs, let's see the transparency around that. And I recall Bill Henderson, I think, or maybe Bill Shimmons as well, identifying that his Rolls-Royce figure, I think Bill Shimmons described it as. Let's see some transparency, and what is the cost of that, and can there be economies on there? Because they did testing 10 years ago, and I'm sure that the testing can be much cheaper than £50,000 to £100,000.
Even if they did find out air quality, particularly here, was not good, what can they do about it? I mean, it's just two hot spots that we're talking about, aren't we? Here, and Law Street, we assume, is the other one.
Well, that's the concern, that somehow Jeffrey Boot believes there's a problem and is hiding away from it, where actually what we need in society is transparency to understand if there is a problem. How do we resolve that? I think there's a new active travel strategy. Public transport has a great opportunity to how we move within society. I mean, things like electric vehicles are coming in and they're positive, but we shouldn't just look as though, like he was saying, as one saviour to ameliorate this problem. It's a whole holistic strategy to society about how we move around the society and how we incentivise clean ways of travelling, like cycling, like walking, like public transport.
So you'd like to see some equipment here, you'd like to see the numbers published on a regular basis?
I would like to see leadership on this issue from the regulator to see, does he want to do his job? His job is to be the public health environmental regulator, and he has a duty to do that under the Public Health Act, and he should be listening to the House that came out in favour of testing. So number one, leadership on the issue. Number two, transparency around the data, transparency around the issues. And number three, a vision for the future where we resolve these, a joined up strategy.